Have you ever wondered why Indian gurus like Ramana Maharshi, Nisargadatta Maharaj, Ramakrishna, Krishnamurti, these people had cancer? These were all spiritual teachers, and then at some point they got cancer in their bodies. So, why is that? Is that something that we should aim for? Is that expected? Is it something random? Well, I'll tell you what, this is not random. There is a process behind it, why this is happening and how you can avoid it. So the biggest problem these spiritual teachers have is that they go so much high and they completely forget about the body. And of course, you're not the body. Of course, you are beyond everything. But that's not the purpose of being on planet Earth. The purpose of being on planet Earth is, yes, to realize your true nature, but also then to be here, to play the game of planet Earth. And many times we make the mistake of preaching these spiritual gurus thinking that they have got it. And yes, they have got it, but that's not all. Spiritual journey is not about only enlightenment. There's lots to spiritual journey, which these people neglect, and that's why they get cancer. It's just a feedback. It's just an indicator that this is not all. Enlightenment is not all. So then what do you do? How do you not get cancer in the first place? How do you go on your spiritual journey, get enlightened, but not suffer from cancer? And it's okay to not want to have cancer. There's nothing wrong with that. You don't have to bypass yourself into, okay, it doesn't matter if I have cancer, I'm not the body. You don't have to do that. This doesn't give you any spiritual points. So to help you understand why the cancer develops, I'll read this quote from Kuo, which comes from a channel material, and that I will link down in the description. It's the same group where the Law of One comes from, which I always recommend, but I'll read you right now what the quote is. That which you call disease, of which cancer is a kind, is literally uneasiness within the physical body. It is dis-ease. So the premise here is that no matter what the physical ailment is, it could be anything, but specifically, mainly cancer, because it's a big disease, it's mainly coming from the fact that you're not in ease in your body. You are not integrated, you're not embodied, and therefore you're not whole. You're ignoring the body, you're ignoring the lower chakras, which is not the point of this incarnation. In the next video, I'm also going to talk more about this, but for now, just to keep this video on point, I'm also now going to talk about where this dis-ease comes from. It can come from two factors, one physical, one is emotional. Where I don't think necessarily that these gurus had emotional reasons, but I do think there was physical reason for them to get cancer. And I'm going to explore both so that you can avoid it for yourself. And to understand these two different reasons, I'm going to quote Ra from the Law of One, where the questioner asks this question and then Ra answers it. So the questioner says, then you're saying that cancer is quite easily healed mentally and is a good teaching tool because it is quite easily healed mentally, and once the entity forgives the other self at whom he is angry, cancer will disappear. Is that correct? Then Ra says, I am Ra. This is partially correct. The other portion of healing has to do with forgiveness of self and a greatly heightened respect for the self. This may conveniently be expressed by taking care in dietary matters. This is quite frequently a part of the healing and forgiving process. Your basic premise is correct. So what they're saying is that emotionally, you want to deal with your anger in a proper way. If you don't do that, you don't process your emotions. And when you don't do that, they get stuck in the body and they start to create this pattern of cancer developing, especially with anger. So whenever anger comes in, you want to feel it, you want to accept it, and you want to release what is causing this anger. That's all. You need to feel it, you need to release it. And that's acceptance, that is awareness. And I think these spiritual gurus would be doing that because that's one of the things that they teach. But what they do lack is respect for themselves, for their bodies. They're completely disconnected from their bodies. They're not respecting it, they're not feeling it right, and therefore they are disembodied. And of course, the cancer will develop. And then from their perspective, they may say, I'm not the body, it doesn't matter, I don't care about my body. which is completely fine from their perspective, which is also a perspective, by the way. What I'm proposing and what also Law of One proposes and suggests is to not skip the lower chakras, not to skip the humanity. For now, this is all I want to say about how to avoid cancer and how to not get into the trap of spirituality, because the spiritual teachers teach what they have realized, what they're good at, but they have not mastered other things. Just like you wouldn't take training from a basketball coach about football, you wouldn't do that. You know, basketball coach is for basketball. In the same way, the spiritual teachers are for enlightenment or whatever it is, these particular spiritual teachings, but they specialize in that. Don't take everything from them. Realize that these people are flawed, and therefore you take a holistic path, is what my proposal is. Alright, so this is it for this video. Make sure you subscribe for the next one. I'll see you then.